Good evening and welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. So we've had really quite a fascinating 3 weeks in Canada, 2 years in Canada and the world, and weekend in Windsor. And I want to thank the Mayor of Windsor for coming on our show and telling us a little bit about his story in regards to dealing with the blockade of the Ambassador Bridge. I wanted to leave tonight with a few thoughts, and I don't want to be overly controversial, but I wanted to share with you, my listeners, a couple of my views on this whole topic. And it's interesting because I'm triple vaccinated. I go out and I wear masks, but I have lots of friends who are not believers in vaccines or in masks, or frankly, some of them in COVID itself. And I think it's important, critically important, that you can have sort of your own opinion. I don't think you can have your own facts, but I think you can have your own opinion. And I think part of the problem is some people believe that opinions have now become facts, and that's wrong. But if you choose for whatever reason to not get vaccinated, I think that should be your choice. I don't think you can then force yourself into restaurants or stores or public places where other people are if the facts, the science is such that you'll end up doing other people harm. And it's the same, reason why we wear seatbelts, the same reason why we drive on the right-hand side of the road here and on the left-hand side of the road in the UK, why we have passports when we cross borders. So we have given up our complete freedom to do anything we want on numerous occasions. And I think that vaccine passports have been, and I think for a while those still will be. And I hope that the Ontario government and Manitoba and Alberta are making the right decisions based on science and health and getting rid of the passports. I worry like crazy that we're going to get a new variant and we're going to be back into this because the quicker we release some of our controls, our mandates, our masks, our vaccines, et cetera, the more probable it is that a variant will allow itself to mutate, or we will allow a variant to mutate, and will come back to harm us all. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about this blockades, occupation, etc. And I think there's a couple of points that I'd like to make. The first point is that people have forgotten the slogan or the line, "a few bad apples," because they only remember the first part of it. A few bad apples. And often I've heard, well, there were only a few bad apples. The line, the lesson, the old tale is, a few bad apples spoils the whole bunch. And that's true. You know that if you have a couple of apples in a bowl that go bad, the whole bunch will go bad. You got to pick out those bad apples right away. I think that I had a friend that described a similar situation the way you would describe cancer. And he says, you got to cut out the cancer right away. And frankly, you got to have chemotherapy and radiation to make sure that there's none of it left if you want to be healthy. I think these protests in Ottawa probably started out as protests and with good reasons, but very quickly became infected by some bad apples. And I think that the organizers should have realized that and should have gotten rid of them and or close things down right away. And what's happened in Coutts on Monday is only proof of that, when we found all these armaments that may have been only in 2 or 3 trucks, but they were there. They were the bad apples. The other lesson that comes home, and I said this on Twitter 2 or 3 weeks ago, is that image that probably all of us remember from that famous movie, The Sound of Music, when Captain Von Trapp comes home from his honeymoon and sees the Nazi flag flying on his house, mansion. And he rips it down and he rips it apart. And Austria at the time was taken over effectively by the Nazis, and a lot of his military associates and friends in the community, and frankly, his butler, as we know, had gone over to the Nazi side. And so public opinion had gone one way, but he stood up for what he believed. When the organizers in Ottawa of the protest, of the rally, of the occupation, whatever you want to call it, the truck convoy, saw those Confederate flags and the Nazi symbols and the desecration of the war memorial, they had a choice. Just like in life, you've got a choice when someone says makes a racist comment or insults gay people or, does something violent or criminal. You can stand up against it, or you can let it happen and dismiss it. And I don't think we have enough people that are willing to stand up against it. For sure, there weren't enough people in that truck convoy protest when it was initially starting to stand up against it. And I think that is a huge mistake. And then I think the third thing I'd like to tell you is that I firmly believe in the right to protest. I've been in numerous protests, but I don't think our Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms protection for the right to protest includes using 18-wheel trucks, SUVs, pickup trucks, bouncy castles, hot tubs, saunas, and the like. And the biggest concern is these 18-wheelers, because all of a sudden, one individual becomes a heck of a lot more powerful and a lot scarier when they've got an 18-wheeler. And I think one of the changes that's going to have to take place is that there's going to have to be laws that are put in place to say that you cannot use vehicles, cars, trucks, vans, pickups, and for sure 18-wheel vehicles to protest. Protest, legal protest is your voice, but not amplified by an 18-wheel vehicle. And protests, like we've had in Toronto, should be, could be, must be peaceful. People walking in Queen's Park North, legally getting the police to close the street so they can walk down the street, so they can have their voice heard, their message sent, but not occupying a city for 3 weeks, not blockading an economic transit point between Canada and the United States. And these people fervently believe what they're espousing, but it's not just an end of vaccine mandates. I've met some of these people. I've interviewed some of these people. They don't believe in COVID. They don't believe in vaccines. They don't believe in masks. And they really thought they could overthrow the government. And I've had people here talking about how the election was unfair. The majority voted a way they didn't like, and that they were going to send this petition, which they did send in, that the Governor General, some senators, and them could take over government of the country. That's an insurrection. It may not be an armed insurrection, but it's insurrection. And the occupation in Ottawa was wrong. A protest on Parliament Hill, completely fine. And frankly, a protest that goes on weekend after weekend, completely fine. I would support that. I would go out and be with them. But occupying major streets and doing illegal things like setting up fireworks and setting up spas and hot tubs and saunas that you don't have a permit to do, and structures that you don't have a permit to do, and festivals. I put on lots of festivals. There's a whole bunch of permits you need, a whole bunch of security guards you need to get, a whole bunch of other obligations one has in a civil society when you want to set up a festival with a big DJ and have a party. You just don't have the freedom in this country to do that, whatever. And I also think that this Canadian flag and the word freedom have been misused. Canada's not about freedom. The populist right wing in the United States may be, free or die, which is on one of their license plates. But that's not Canada. Canada is about good government and safety, peace, order, and good government. I think we have lost some in the last couple of weeks of what it is to be Canadian. And the fact that the potential leader of the Conservative Party of Canada has been out there supporting them, I think should make him inappropriate as a potential leader of a national political party in Canada. That's the kind of Trumpian politics, populist politics that I think destroyed the Republican Party in the United States and has gone a long way to destroying the image and reputation of the citadel of democracy that the United States of America was. And I think that the truck convoy protests / occupation / blockades in the last 3 weeks have done that internationally to the reputation of Canada and the image of the Canadian flag. I don't like wearing a seatbelt in the car. And frankly, sometimes I don't wear it. And people get mad at me, wear a seatbelt. I don't like wearing a bike helmet when I bike. I frankly love to feel the air go through my hair when I'm skiing and don't like wearing a ski helmet when I ski. I like going faster than some of the speed limits allow us to go. I don't like having to buy parking tickets all the time. But these are things we do in a civil society. We have to do in a civil society. And if you don't do them, you get a ticket or you get arrested. I think we've had a tyranny of a very small minority in the last couple of weeks that have taken control of Canada, have occupied downtown Ottawa, have blockaded 2, 3, 4 border crossings, have tried to take over downtown Toronto, downtown Montreal, downtown Quebec, Winnipeg, Edmonton, Vancouver. That said, we have 10, 15% of the population of Canada that don't believe in vaccine mandates, don't believe in vaccines. That's 3.5 million people. We can't cut them out of society. We have to do something to bring them together. We have to do something to persuade them that either they get the vaccine or they get tested on a regular basis, or they have to not, when infections are high and hospitalizations are high, not be part of public society. That can be their choice, but they shouldn't be able to impose that belief that COVID's not real or vaccines aren't effective or masks don't do anything on the rest of us, that based on our scientific, based on the scientific people that have educated us, we believe, and the majority of believe. And, 82% of us have gotten one vaccine, 70-something% have got two, and 60% have got 2 plus a booster. So the vast majority of Canadians believe, I think correctly, that vaccine passports, vaccine mandates have helped us get through this and have helped my mom and other people, myself, be safe. So my lessons from this: number 1, a few bad apples spoil the whole bunch. Number 2, when you see something wrong, like Captain Von Trapp, you rip down the flag and you rip it apart. You don't allow it to just exist. You stand up for what you believe and what's right. And number 3, we have a right to protest, but we don't have a right to protest using an 18-wheel vehicle, block down a street, block down a bridge, and occupy a city for 3 weeks. Anyway, my 2 cents. Thanks for joining me. Good night, everybody.